Now we're going to focus on our different types of displays once we get our data together. And some of the displays you've noticed we've already talked about, some we have not. Okay? One of the goals out of this lesson is to determine which is the most appropriate graph or display to use whenever we are representing or even collecting our data. Okay? We've talked about a line plot and we've talked about a frequency table. Okay? Today we're going to talk about bar graphs. We're going to talk about histograms. We're going to talk about line graphs and reading those and the type of information that's on those, so that when we have data, we'll know which graph we want to use to present our data. Okay? And we're going to start with a line graph, bar graph. So if you will turn to the classwork section of your folder, and we're just going to look at these two problems together. Okay? So turn to the classwork section. Put today's date, and your title is going to be the topic for today, which is display data. Okay? Now, first of all, for question 1 and 2, we're just reading it from the bar graph. And if we want to describe what a bar graph looks like, the side here will be our frequencies. Okay? The sides are our frequencies, telling us how many times someone said the particular answer. So that is our frequency, and I'm just going to write that here so you know those numbers go. And across the bottom are our different categories. Okay, this is a student pet survey. So what do you think they probably asked? What do you think they probably asked for this survey? Okay, they probably asked what kind of pet you have. They may have even asked what was your favorite pet. They could have said that as well. So if they ask what is your favorite pet or what type of pet do you have, what type of data do you think this bar graph represents? Categorical data. Okay, and on your chem chart and in the song, if you look in the song that we have for types of data, your bar graphs can have categories going across the bottom. Okay? Now, sometimes they will switch them. I'm going to turn the page. Sometimes they may switch it where the categories are going down the side and have the bar going horizontal. But either way, it still gives you the same information. Okay? So, bar graphs, you can put your categories going across the bottom, which means that this is categorical data. This is probably the best fit if you are trying to display your categorical data. And remember that for your project, because you get the choice to choose from a numerical question or categorical question. So if your question is a categorical question, you can collect your data on a frequency table, remember, and then you can display your data with a bar graph. Okay, so that's that one last missing piece that I told you last week when we went over the project that we had to get to today. There it is. If your question has categorical data, you will collect on the frequency table. That's the most appropriate. Okay, and display with a bar graph. Okay. Now, number 1 says which animal was the least popular among students? We're just going to answer these together. Raise your hand if you tell me which is the least popular. The bird, because your bar is lower. Okay? So reading your bar graph is hopefully pretty easy for us to do. So, which pet were more popular to twice as many students as the rabbit? Okay? Think about what that question says. It says, which pet was more popular to twice as many students as rabbits were?
Dog.
Okay, dog. Now, rabbit, what is that frequency? 5. So, twice as many as 5 would be 10, which would be dog. Okay? And then question 3 asks us to make a bar graph using this data. Okay? Now, this is where your range can be helpful. Okay? Using the range, you want to look at the range of your frequencies, of your responses, to make sure that we cover all of our data points. Okay? Our range is the lowest and the highest, the difference between the highest and the lowest. So we have to make sure we have both of those numbers represented. Okay? Then we have, if we need to go up in intervals, we have to make sure that we have enough intervals where our graph won't be super long and where we still cover all of our information, our highest number and our lowest number. Okay? So, if we want to make a bar graph, first we go ahead and draw the graph. We put our categories across the bottom, and I'm just going to abbreviate to save time. So we have grains, I'll use a G. We have fruit. We have meat, I'll do a M-E. Milk, I'll do an M-I. And vegetables, V. And I'm just doing this to kind of save time, but you want to write out your categories across the bottom, okay? And your frequencies will be across the side. Now, we always want, and I know sometimes in magazines and things like that, you see where they just start at the lowest number and then go up. We want our graphs to be correct. We want them to be accurate. So we will always start with 0, okay? And we'll just go up until we get to our highest value, okay? With low numbers like this, we can just go by 1s because they're all pretty low. Now, as we get to the higher numbers, we want to use intervals, or really multiples. Multiples of 5, multiples of 6, multiples of 10, multiples of 50. But we'll look at our range to see what those multiples should be. I'm just going to go with multiples of 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I just topped it off at 7 since I had a little bit of room left. Okay? And then to finish it out, you just draw a bar to represent each one. Grains, we had 6. Okay? Fruit, we had 2. Meat, 2. Milk, 3. And vegetables, 3. And we have our bar graph. Okay? for any type of graph, our frequencies are going to be on the side. Couple things we need to remember. We want our graphs to be accurate. Okay, so we always start with 0. We don't start with the lowest number. Okay, we start at 0, and depending on our range of data, that will tell us what type of interval or the multiples that we will probably want to go up as far as covering all of our data on our graph. Okay, any questions about that? All right, let's look at the next one if we have time. Check the time. Okay, everybody's about done. All right. We're going to go over problems 1 and 2. This is using numerical data. Now, we did say that with numerical data, we want to use a line plot. Okay? Here, this says that it asks us to make a tally table, which is kind of the same as a frequency table. Remember what I said about the most appropriate? The most appropriate would be with a line plot from numerical if it's really small. But as the numbers get a little bit bigger, we can use a frequency table. Okay? Now, they've given you a little bit of information because this is also going to help you to set up your histograms. Okay? So, we're going to do what they said, and we're going to do it this way. It says make a tally table with intervals of 5. So what they want you to do here is make a table and if we are going in intervals of 5, we have to look at our highest value and our lowest value to make sure that we cover everything. Okay? Our lowest value is 1. Our highest value is 17. Okay? 18. Yeah, highest value is 18. Now, so we need to cover everything from 1 to 18 in intervals of 5. So what we'll do here, we'll just say 0 to 5 will be the first interval. 6 to 10, 11 to 15, and 16 to 20. Okay? So what that says is we can go through all of this information, and every time a number is between 0 to 5, we put a tally here. 6 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 20. Okay? And the reason we decided to do the frequency table instead of the line plot is because if we got to cover all the way to 18, our number line will have to go all the way to 18. So that makes it start to get a little big. Okay? So instead of that, we'll use this. We want to use it most times with categorical data because we put categories here, but we can also use intervals for numerical data. Okay? So, looking at our data, 2 will go there. We'll put a tally mark. 18 here between 16 and 20. 5, 15, 7, 10, 1, 10 again, 4, 16, 7, 11, 17, 3, 8, 14, 13, and 10. Okay? So we tallied it up and we put our frequency, which is 5, 6, 4, and 3. Okay? Question 2 asks us to make a frequency table. We've already done that. What I want to do here, instead of making a frequency table, I want to make a histogram. Okay? And that is on your chem chart. We can make a histogram. A histogram, it looks exactly like a bar graph, except instead of categories going across the bottom, it has your intervals. Okay? So we have 0 to 5. And these bars are going to be connected because numbers are continuous, so we connect them together. We have 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, and 16 to 20. Okay? And over here will be our frequencies. Our highest frequency is 6, our lowest is 3. So I will just count by ones again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So 0 to 5. We make that bar and we're going to connect them all together. 6 to 10 has 6. 11 to 15 have 4. And 16 to 20 had 3. So that is a histogram. Okay? So the only difference between a histogram and a bar graph is that bar graph has categories going across the bottom. Histogram has intervals, which are a set of numbers. And those are the main two that's going to be involved in your project. So since we're running low on time, I did want to make sure we got those, the difference between the two, because you have two types of data that you're looking at for your project, categorical or numerical. Okay? One we'll put on the frequency table and make a bar graph. The other, you can do a live plot if they are small numbers, but if it gets bigger like these numbers, you can use a frequency table for those also. Okay? Are there any questions about that? All right, what I need for you to do is to open your planners